let me introduce just a little bit about myself. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Brian Matiash, and I am very much into two things: Lightroom and mobile photography. I love regular photography as well, but I think mobile photography is starting to have its moment in the sun. And actually, I'm gonna mute that so that I don't. I'm hearing myself, and it's kind of annoying. But point is that um, mobile photography is really taking off, and you know it's taking off because there is a huge accessory market that follows it. So think about that. Whenever something, I don't know, is new, Apple has their Vision Pro coming out. And so what do you see? You see a bunch of companies now that are building accessories. Now, mobile photography is not new, but I feel like with as these kinds of devices get better and are treated more seriously by the manufacturer, really good optics, really good sensors, you start to see other companies want to kind of help photographers get more out of it. So what I want to kind of show you really quickly is this is basically the gear that I want to show you today. And I've got this cool little top-down camera. It's actually it's right over there. Let me go to this full screen view. It's right there. That's my little table over there. So I'm gonna show you the gear that I've been using to get my photos. And so specifically, there are a few primary categories. So if you look on the little text box over there, the first one has to do with the case and the grip. Now, I never have my phone naked like this. My phone, for as long as I've been a phone user, I've just used Apple cases. I haven't ever done anything else with accessories really. And so with Polar Pro though, they have this case, and I'll show you why I love it. It basically allows me to make my iPhone feel more like a camera ergonomically. Then I've got Maven filters. So I've been experimenting a lot more with linear polarizers, neutral density, and infrared filters. And Maven is the brand that I've switched to. I absolutely love them. And they're a magnetic system. And I'll show you how the filters work with the Polar Pro case, because there's a key component there as well. Reflex, very excited about this. You might have seen a video that I shared, I don't know, 2 months ago maybe, where I had Reflex send me a mid-stage prototype of their lenses. So they made these new G series lenses, and they were redesigned because as the iPhone 14 and 15 came out, they had larger optics and larger sensors. The lenses that were made for that needed to be adjusted so they can take advantage of that. So I'm going to show you that, and then I have a few other accessories, nothing major, but just some tripod stuff and MagSafe stuff that I want to show you. Now, you might notice that for Maven and Reflex, there are asterisks, and that's because that means that those were provided to me by the companies. So both Maven filters and Reflex sent me filters and lenses for free, but I'm not paid for this at all. Like I will tell you what I think about them. I'm not sponsored, but I just wanted to be upfront with you. So again, let me kind of, before we dive into the gear, I kind of want to show you what I've been doing with my iPhone. And if you've got questions or comments, be sure to leave those in the Q&A or comment section, because I can see them here, and I will definitely throughout this presentation kind of talk about it and address them. So let's go to the desktop really quickly here. And this is just an album that I created in Lightroom of some of my kind of favorite photos that I've taken with my iPhone, partly because I want to illustrate to you that you can actually get legitimately great stuff. Like I took this photo a few months ago in right here on the coast of Florida, and it's a long exposure. It's a 30-second exposure, and there was nothing to this. It was just my camera mounted on a tripod with the Reflex Pro Camera app. So no lenses, no ND filters, but just basically using the app to simulate a long exposure. Then other things like using the phone as you would with a regular camera to take a pano. So here's an example that I took in December when I was in Utah, and I just took, this was in Arches National Park. I parked the car, I climbed up a little hill, and I just took these photos like from right to left. And this is the three gossips. And I just stitched it in Lightroom and edited it. And it's the same things that I would do with a regular camera. Of course, there are some differences. I'm not going to pretend like everything is exactly the same, but in terms of compositional technique, you know, I took this at Goblin Valley State Park in Utah. The same compositional techniques apply, you know, finding the right kind of light, finding the right subject, using layers to draw the eye through the frame. And so that's kind of why I am such a big fan of mobile photography. Same thing here, same concept here, where these are with an iPhone 15 Pro Max also, but just, I firmly believe that if you find the right subject and you find great light, the camera will, it doesn't matter what camera you have, the camera will do what you need it to do, as long as you obviously have it set correctly. But I actually wrote this article. Let me see, I should have it here. Yeah. So I launched, obviously I launched a newsletter a couple months ago, about almost 2.5 months ago, called Lightroom Everywhere in this newsletter. It's the same name as the course that I have called Lightroom Everywhere. And you can see this is Lightroom Everywhere Live. So I'm kind of rallying around this Lightroom Everywhere brand. But rather than my first issue of this newsletter being for you know, Lightroom, I wanted to focus on smartphone photography and iPhone photography because I'm so excited about this. I feel like there's so much potential here. And I wrote this long article called iPhone Photography Apologetics. And, you know, apologetics is not something you apologize for. Apologetics is making, like I say here, reasoned argument and justification of something. So I wanted to explain that if you put the same effort into your photography with this device, then as you do with a camera, as with your Sony camera or your Canon camera, I genuinely believe you can get amazing photos. And it's not like, you know, you want to know what my wish is? And also for those of you watching and listening, do me a favor, drop in the comments, like what are you into mobile photography? If so, what phone are you using to take photos? But my wish is that we get to the point where you don't have to say, oh, I took this with a phone. It's the same principle as you go to a chef, you eat a dish that they cooked, and you're like, oh wow, your oven must be amazing. The oven's just a part of it. Same thing with the camera. And so with that, you know, that's why I okay, cool. I just see here. So Todd's saying he's using an iPhone. I just want to make sure that, yeah, iPhone. I mean, I think a lot of people are using iPhone. So basically, and that's not to say that iPhone is the only case. I use iPhone, so that's it. But let's actually, I want to move on because I feel like I've kind of opined enough, but I want to talk to you about the gear and as I talk to you about the gear, I think that'll open up kind of your mind into how you could elevate your mobile photography. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the top-down camera and to switch to my wireless mic. So you guys should still hear me now. And let's go over here. Hey everyone. So I got my iPhone here. Let's start with the case. So I mentioned that the first thing that I want to do is make my phone feel more like a camera. And so to do that, I have this case here, and I mentioned that I've always kind of used this. This is just the silicon Apple case made by Apple. Nothing special. It's got MagSafe, and that's about it. But The reason why I got this case is it's actually twofold. The first is you can see here it has this rail system. So it's got these grooves on the top and the bottom. And it's also got this metal plate. But the metal plate I don't really care about. Well, let me go ahead. I'm going to put the iPhone in the case here. And so you can see it's fits the way it should. And you can see that there's this button here. So I'm going to press this and remove it. And so this is basically like a lens cap. That's the best way to think about it. There's a little bit of a thread on my lens here. But it's like a lens cap. So you like a lens cap, you want to remember to take it off when you start taking photos. And the reason why I like it is that it's not just a lens cap. This is actually kind of like an adapter system. So I mentioned that the reason why I like this is because it helps me feel like this camera or this phone is more like a camera. Because if you think about it, when you take a photo, you're typically like holding the phone like this, right? Like you're holding it from the edges and you're kind of holding it in front of your face. Well, with Polar Pro, they also have an accessory. So this is called the Light Chaser 15. That's the case. But they also have this grip. It's actually two products here, the grip and then this button, this Bluetooth shutter button on top of it. So you have to buy these separately and then the Bluetooth button can screw on. So it becomes this piece, this single piece here. Here's this little power switch, you would flip it on and then this is a shutter button. But the button itself is not the main draw for me. The main draw is the fact that I can take this, so if I press this button in and then slide up, I can then connect the grip into the rail here. And now I have, like, it's a legit, from the top down, it looks almost like a camera that's been kind of shrunk in. And you can see here that I can grip the phone much more comfortably. I can use the shutter button to take photos and I'm good to go. This to me is one of the best things that I've seen for a mobile phone for photography, because it introduces or it reintroduces, here, let me grab my old Sony camera. So this is an old Sony 8, this is the original A7 that I converted to infrared. But notice, let's just kind of look at the overall kind of ergonomics. You have this shelf here, this grip, you have the shutter button on top, and then you've got the main camera. It's the exact same thing here. The nice thing also about this particular system is that there's a cold shoe you can see right here, so you can slide an accessory in. You can also screw something up here, and then on the bottom here, you can also screw in my case, I usually attach a tripod plate, like an Arca Swiss plate to the bottom here. And that's the other thing, speaking of that, I use this system to mount to a tripod, and what I'll do is I will move the grip to the center. So now the kind of center gravity of the camera is kind of more here. So instead of the phone on the tripod kind of sitting like this, it's sitting in the middle. So it's a lot sturdier. So the center of gravity is much more secure. So again, this to me is one part of why I love this Polar Pro system. And again, this is something I bought with my own money. They didn't send me anything. I'm not sponsored by them, but I think this is just a really cool addition. Now, I will tell you that this button, I don't like it a lot, because several times I'll go to press it to take a photo, and either it will have to repair itself to the phone because it's Bluetooth, in which case I'll have to press it again. And then sometimes I'll press it and it'll initiate a burst. And then I need to, press the stop button to stop the burst, and then I have to go back and delete it. It's really annoying. The reason why I did not return it is because I actually like having this extra button. It works, I would say 75, 80% of the time. Probably not the best, but it is what it is. And I shared that in the video that I shared a few weeks ago, and some people brought up other companies that kind of make similar products. And that's fine, but there's still one thing about this that would keep me from using any other product. And so before I show that to you really quickly, let me also show you this has MagSafe. So this is a little accessory I was going to talk to you at the end about at the end. This is just a MagSafe mount by Moment. There's a screw here which will have another cold shoe, which I removed because I don't really use it, but it's nice because as you can see it's quite secure. And so I can connect this to an Arca Swiss plate and then connect this to a tripod and it'll just stay there. But I mentioned, here I'll get rid of this Sony camera. I mentioned that the reason why I won't leave this system is because of this thing right here. This is a 67mm filter adapter. That's really all it is. And you remember how I showed you here, when you put this on, it snaps on, it is secure. And the only way you take it off is by pressing this button here and sliding it out. Well, again, it's not just for a lens cap. Here, I can take this filter adapter and slide it on. So this accepts a 67mm filter thread. So if you have filters that are 67mm, you can just screw them on, but I don't. I use 82mm threads. And actually before, let me actually fix this because it was crooked. Before I move on to the filters, I'm going to go back to my desk. I want to see if there are any questions here. So let's switch mics here. Okay, so Alan, let me bring up Alan's comment really quickly. So Alan says that Freewell makes a similar grip, same problem. Oh, okay, you sent yours back. Okay, that's the thing, especially with Bluetooth. If you're using Bluetooth, I find that just opens you up to issues, partly because I think sometimes those little buttons, the shutter buttons, to conserve battery, they'll power off. And as far as I know, you can't turn that, or you can't change that setting. So it's kind of a bummer there. And then, so Rad's saying he thinks you can disable the burst in the camera settings. I think so, but I'm not sure because I did look for that because I very rarely use burst. I mean, very, very rarely. Partly because I believe it saves it as JPEG, and I generally save in RAW or ProRAW, and I don't really use the burst. If I really need, sequences, I'll record a video. So, but I don't remember if that's an option. I will look at it again though, Rad. So I appreciate that. So sounds like I don't see any problems with the camera or the mic switching over there. So if everyone's good, then I'm going to continue on with the presentation. So let's go back over here. Now, all right, so I talked about the case, the grip, the button. Again, the button, I would say is optional. The reason why I like it is because it does give you another, I don't know, 1.5 inches of kind of grip, and it just feels good. It feels really good. But I showed you the 67mm adapter again. It just slides on and snaps in. And once it's on, it is secure. I mean, you can hold it. It's not going anywhere. So I'm a big fan of filters. I'm very excited about using filters. The one thing that I am really hoping for every year when a new iOS comes out and new iPhones come out is that Apple continues to treat photography more seriously and give those of us who really want to push it forward more control. So right now, in all fairness, the longest you can set an exposure for a photo on the iPhone is 1 second. You can simulate much longer exposures, but you can't really do more than a second. With that said, still, there are plenty of uses for filters, and that's where this comes in. So I've heard nothing but good things about Maven. Like, I've seen so many photographers who I respect using them. And so I reached out to them, and they were kind enough to send me this kit, and then I'm getting another kit within a few days. But for now, let me show you why I love this. So this is their case here. You just slide it open. I've never seen, so let me tell you something. I've been in this industry for a very, very, very long time. And I've seen plenty of companies innovate all across the board. Like, this is, I would say, innovating. I never thought I would see innovation with filters. Filters they're pieces of glass, and they have different properties. But what I love about these filters is that the way that they reimagined and rethought how photographers interact with their filters. So what I mean by that is, if we look closely here, let's see, how close can the lens focus? Right around there should be okay. You can notice how each of these filters is color-coded. So that first will tell you what kind of filter you're working with. So you can see whether these are neutral densities or polarizers. But if you look more closely, there's actual milling in the frame of these filters. So for example, this right here, you can see there are 3 grooves. This is a 3-stop neutral density filter. So even without looking, all I need to do is feel those 3 grooves, and I know that that is a 3-stop. This is a 10-stop, this is a 6-stop, and then you have these 2 filters here, which are probably the most important filters for a photographer, in my opinion. This one on the left here is a polarizer filter, or I should say a circular polarizer filter. This one is a linear polarizer. And if you can't see, basically the linear has kind of a triangle. It's milled kind of, the texture is halfway. Now, the reason why you might actually want to consider a linear polarizer is because circular polarizers were primarily released when DSLRs hit the scene. And that's partly because the linear polarizers would affect the autofocusing systems. And so to combat that, circular polarizers were made. But for mirrorless cameras, you actually want to use a linear polarizer. It's not something that's talked about a lot. But before we actually go any further about this, let me show you how you would attach it to a phone. So again, I've got this 67mm filter adapter that Polar Pro makes. And then all I did was buy this cheapo, it's just a 67 to 82mm step-up ring. Like, these things are nothing. And so, I mean, I think you can get a pack of them for $12 on Amazon. So, of course, whenever I'm live, it's always just a debacle to get the filtering on. But there you go. So now I have an 82mm receptacle. So again, we put a 67mm filter on, or adapter on, then we put the 67 to 82 step-up ring. And now what I need to do is take this filter. So this is a magnetic filter ring by Maven. You get this when you purchase. This is 82mm. And so because the step-up ring is now configured for 82mm, I've got it going. Here's where the magic happens, because that's the last thing I need to screw on, because I can take a filter and just magnetize it. And I can take another filter and just sticks to it. Now here's the super cool thing specifically about this system here, where I'm using in this case here, a circular polarizer with a linear. I don't know if you can see this. You might be able to. You see these little numbers here? Basically, when you put this linear on top of a circular or even an ND, it's basically working now as a variable ND filter. So when I when I rotate the linear polarizer, you won't be able to see it here because we're not outside and there's nothing really reflective. But basically, actually, let's see. Let's just go into the camera here. And let's see. You can kind of see how it gets darker. You see how the exposure is changing? And that's because this is acting like a variable neutral density filter, which is super cool. But basically, to me, this is one of the coolest things, because I always hated having to screw filters on top of each other, but now I can just snap them on. And again, they are magnetized to each other as well. So I do have Maven Filters is sending me additional filters. So again, this is the linear, circular polarizers, and then 3, 6, and 10 stop NDs. But they're also sending me an infrared filter. And I'm going to talk to you about why I'm excited to test their filter, because I already did some testing with another, I'll show you right here actually, with another infrared filter. So I bought this off of Amazon for about 60 bucks. This is a R72 infrared filter. And honestly, you get what you pay for. So this is a 67mm filter. I don't need to use this adapter. I can just unscrew this and screw this on directly, because again, it's a 67mm thread. I've had complications. You'll notice how you really need to have a bright scene. It's kind of hard to see, but it is infrared. So if you want to practice with infrared, I mean, if you don't want to spend a lot of money up front, this is an okay way to go. But I actually have a link, I'll put it in the comments in a minute, where you can see all of the gear that I use, and you can check out, if you want, the Maven filters. And the reason why I'm bringing that up right now is because through Saturday, they have a Kickstarter. So they just released their second wave of filters, and all of their filters are available on Kickstarter, and you can save like up to 50%. So if you were looking to upgrade your filters, I'll drop a link, because there is an affiliate link that I have, but even if you don't, just check them out. It's really, really good. I am so impressed with these filters. I'll show you some photos that I took with them because I did some tests with them the other day. But basically, the filters, for me, is something that I'm super excited about with this. And again, when you're done, you can just remove it. When you're done with your filters, you know, you can remove the grip, and of course you can remove the case. So that's kind of why I like this Polar Pro system, is it's quite modular, and the things that you can add to it, again, the grip, and more importantly, the filter adapter, it just allows you to expand what you can do with mobile photography. So next I want to talk to you about lenses here, but before I do, I'm going to go back to my desk here. And let's see. So let's see here what we got here. Marsha is asking for format, most compatible or high efficiency. So I assume you're talking about how to save your images on your iPhone. I always do most compatible, which will save a JPEG instead of an HEIF file. Same thing with video. So that's just kind of my own preference here. So, and again, if you have any questions or you want to see more about something, let me know. But it looks like we are, let me actually send, I'm going to put the link to my gear page. So there it is right there. And if you go there, you'll see towards the bottom of filter section, I linked to the Maven's Kickstarter campaign. And again, it's till Saturday. So if you are, I mean, that's the thing with filters. It's not something you always think about upgrading or changing. Usually when you have your filters, the only time you would buy a new one is if you break it, you lose it, or there's a filter that you need, like you don't have a 10 stop and you want to get, or a linear polarizer, which again, if you are into mobile photography or you use a mirrorless camera, you should check out the linear polarizer. That is going to be more effective for your photography. And even if you have a circular polarizer, remember this, assuming you, I mean, in this case, it'd have to be a Maven because they're magnetic. But remember that the linear polarizer will act as a variable neutral density filter if you pair it with another filter. So I think that's super cool. All right, now I want to close things off. Oh no, we have two more sections, but this third section I'm very excited about because this is where I think a lot of people will really have fun pushing the boundaries of mobile photography. So let's go back to the top down here. And I mentioned already what it is. So let me kind of clear my workspace here. And I'm actually going to remove, I have to remove the case from the iPhone because what I'm going to show you is the reflex case. They don't make it very easy to remove these cases. So again, here's the phone, and here is the Reflex G Series kit. Now, a few things about this. Again, this was sent to me by Reflex. I've been doing work with these guys. They are wonderful partners, as are the people at Maven Filters. Just the nicest people, and I'm so grateful that they want to work with me. And it makes me happy to share these things because these are products that I genuinely use and I am happy to recommend. With that said, again, this is very exciting. So Reflex makes, they are generally known for their iOS camera apps. They have 3 of them. There's the Reflex Pro Camera app. There is Re-Expose, which is a long exposure app meant for tripod use, and then there's Reheld, which is a long exposure app meant for just hand holding. Uh, about a couple months ago, I would say, they announced their Kickstarter for their new G series lenses. Again, these lenses, I mean, I wish you can understand just how substantial and how kind of heavy and just how big the glass elements are on these lenses. And again, as you notice here, that's magnetic. But my point is that I'm so excited because what this allows you to do is that right there is the main lens. So this is your main camera lens with the largest sensor. You can see there are three. This is the ultra wide, that's telephoto, main. This is a 12 megapixel sensor. This is 12, this is 48. And in my book, I want to use this, the lens and the sensor, as often as possible. And the best way that I can do that is by augmenting high quality optics to adapt the focal length of this. So this natively is a 24 or 20, yeah, 24, or I think a 24 or 28 millimeter lens. And if I want to get it wider, basically the only onboard option is to use this ultra wide lens. And I do not like this lens. I avoid this lens as often as I can, just because it's too wide and I'm not as thrilled with this sensor. So imagine that I can, if I wanted to, expand to, I would say, an 18 millimeter equivalent focal length with this wide angle lens. So how would I do that? Well, you would use a case. So for those of you that are familiar with mobile lenses, you know that you generally have to, it goes with a case. And I've seen primarily two types of mounting systems. The first is a mounting system when you use a lens system like by Moment, for example, and that's a bayonet system. And so let me just really quickly put this on. Before I actually dive into that, the things that I want you to know, these are final stage pre-production models. So these are effectively what anyone who backed the Kickstarter will be getting. But I just didn't get, this is not the final case. I don't have the anamorphic lens, which is still in production. And this case, as well as, they sent me both of these cases, neither of them have MagSafe. So it won't work with MagSafe yet. But the MagSafe case is coming. It's just nearing production completion. But just so you know, this case currently, the one they sent me, does not support MagSafe yet. All right, so I mentioned that the first mounting system is a bayonet. So a bayonet system is basically like, imagine there were three little teeth on the back here. You would align those teeth with grooves on the mounting, over here, the mounting hole. You would put it in and twist, and that would lock it in place. If I'm being honest, I've never been a fan of bayonet systems. I don't find that they are exceptionally secure, which is why I like what Reflex did. So if I remove the rear lens cap here, you can see that it's actually a thread. And so what I can do is take the 2x telephoto, which will double my focal length, and put it on the main camera lens. And now, I mean, this is secure. Like, it is not going anywhere. And you can see here, I mean, just how gigantic that front element is. And so this, again, this is I put the telephoto on here, so this will double my focal length. But if I wanted to make it wider, I can make it wider. So let me actually show you each of the lenses. So this, I kind of mentioned already, is the telephoto lens. So this will double your focal length. I mean, it's beautiful. For those of you that back this, you're gonna be really impressed. This is the wide angle. So this will essentially give you what I would say is an equivalent 18 millimeter focal length, which is great. I mean, that is you don't really want to go too much wider, especially with a mobile phone. But if you want to get creative, you can go wider. There's this fisheye here. This thing is nuts. Like, this is absolutely nuts. You have to be very careful. Let me take the rear cap off and put, now again, that's the other thing. I am, for the most part, using these lenses on the main camera, not the telephoto. And so if I mean, you can kind of see here, it's kind of overexposed with the camera, but it's pretty crazy. And it's very easy to get your finger in the frame. So you want to be very careful when you're holding your camera because it's very easy to get your finger in the frame. But this is something that just adds a lot of, for those of you who followed me for a long time, you might know one of my favorite lenses of all time is this guy right here. This is the Canon 15mm f2.8 fisheye lens. And I have a Canon to Sony adapter on it, so I can use it on any of my Sony cameras. I love this lens. I will never sell this lens. And that's because I call it the funk buster. If you're in a funk, a creative funk, and you don't know what to do, and you have this, or you have this, put your fisheye on and just go shooting. Because I guarantee you that a fisheye will instantly break whatever creative funk you're in. It's so much fun. It is easy to go overboard, so I wouldn't, use it all the time every day, unless you want to, but I call it a funk buster for a reason. And so that is the fisheye lens. And then I'll walk you through the other two lenses. There's also a lens hood, a magnetic lens hood that I can show you here for the ultra wide. So kind of if you are shooting outside and you want to kind of have a little bit extra protection from stray light, you've got that lens hood there, which is, again, I love the fact that everyone's going magnetic. But these are the other two lenses that I'm very excited about. These are the regular macro, so kind of a 1x macro, or a close-up macro and a long-range macro. This gives you, I believe, if I remember correctly, 7 inches of minimum focus distance, and this will give you, I believe, 1 inch. So I would start with this one. This is, I think, a bit more forgiving, and it allows you to get, a little bit more of your subject in the frame. But if you want to get super close, this is the lens for you. So you've got those there as well. And again, for me, I love seeing this kind of stuff because this is not something that a company goes into production, willy-nilly. There is reasonable expectation that this industry, the mobile photo industry, is going to grow and it has been growing and will continue to grow. So that's kind of why I'm so excited about it. So let me go and see if there are any questions here. All right. No MagSafe, no purchase. Good to know. Yeah. So you have to understand, Rad, that when Reflex has been building the stuff out, they sent it to us, to the partners, as soon as things were ready. We were waiting actually quite a bit to get iPhone 15 cases. The only case I had up until the other week was for the iPhone 13 Pro. So I had to use my wife's phone because that's what she uses, is an iPhone 13 Pro. When you guys get your stuff, it'll have MagSafe. It's going to have the anamorphic lens, like I said, is final. Actually, I have the anamorphic lens, but it's a mid-stage production. I'll show that to you really quickly. But yeah, don't worry about that. I wanted to show you what I have, just in full transparency. And let's see, what does Deborah ask? Do you find that your iPhone changes to a different camera? No, it will if you have the macro option enabled. So in settings, and you go to camera, there's an option to prevent lens switching for macro. So I turn that off. Partly because, again, I don't like the macro function as much using the native lens. I'd much rather use the Reflex G series macro lenses. And usually it's more intentional. Like I know I'm going to go out and photograph for macro. So it's not something like, oh, if that's the case, if I'm out and about and I don't have my macro lens, yeah, I'll use the onboard macro, and it's pretty good. But man, I'll show you really quickly. Let me go to the desktop, and I'll show you this right here. Where's my little macro? Right there. I was just walking around Palm Beach with my wife. This is with the mid-stage lenses of several months ago. And I just love the opportunities that you have. This is a photo that I took with the fisheye lens. So you can see you can have a lot of fun if, especially if you have a lot of leading lines. They get distorted in a cool kind of radial way. And so it's just, there's a lot of things that you can do. I also, actually, I'm glad I went to Lightroom. You remember how I mentioned that you kind of want to be wary of the filters you buy. So I bought that Hoya 67 millimeter infrared filter. And you can see here, I don't know if you can you see, this is the unedited shot. Let me magnify. Do you see this hotspot in the middle? Let me open up this film strip. You can see this one here as well. You can, do you see right here in the center? It's much hotter, much brighter than the rest of it. That is unavoidable for the most part. That's just a characteristic of using infrared. There are ways to mitigate that using like a radial filter in Lightroom, but I'm very excited to see what the Maven infrared filter does, whether it exhibits hotspots or if it does, to what extent. Generally, I found that hotspots are present in the 24 millimeter, even closer to 50 millimeter, the mid-range focal length and wider. As you go longer focal lengths, I find that it is minimized, but you can see in these shots here, you see in the center, these are unedited photos, the center is a lot hotter. So I wanted to bring that up to you, just so you know that's something to consider. Now, the other thing that I want to show you is why I'm also so happy with the Maven filters, the polarizers. So when I went to, when I went to Goblin Valley State Park in December, I was so excited. I had just, I had all of these photos, these panos that I was taking with the polarizer. And I'll just say, I was using a Format High-Tech polarizer, circular polarizer. And if you look at these images, do you see over here, all of my images using the polarizer? Do you see this kind of on the right, there's that vertical band? It's only with the polarizer. And it's in all of my photos. So all of these photos are useless to me. I tried to see if I can somehow clone it out and stuff, but this was a huge bummer to me. And so that's actually why I reached out to Maven. Now that I'm thinking about it. We were actually driving back from Moab, Utah, which is where I took these photos. And my wife was driving, and I reached out to Maven, and I was like, hey guys, I would love to test your polarizer filter to see if it exhibits the same kind of aberration on the iPhone, specifically on the iPhone. I'm not as worried about the Sony or about the regular lenses, but on the iPhone, I want to see, and I'm happy to report. So this is a photo taken with the circular polarizer. Not this one. This is not. But I also took a pano. Do I have it here? Did I not put it in? I'll show you the pano that I took with the filter, and I'm pleased to report here. Let me go here. It was here, and where is that pano that I right here? Okay, so I'm pleased to report that this is a pano taken with my iPhone 15 Pro Max with the Maven linear polarizer filter. And there were absolutely no phenomenon, no weird artifacts or vertical banding. So that to me is a huge win. It's another kind of feather in the cap for these guys. I also see here, there's a comment here by Michael. SanDisk uses thread mounts. Any idea if they're the same? I don't know. I believe this is I don't remember the thread. I don't know why 17 millimeters is popping up in my head, but for some reason I think it's 17. I don't know. So don't quote me on it. I don't have any other lenses to test. Now, Scott also, Scott's bringing up a fair point that knowing that other companies using a bayonet proprietary mount stick with a 17 millimeter. Yeah, okay, so Scott, I think you're correct. I think it is a 17 millimeter. In that case, in theory, it should work, but don't don't take my word for it, because like I said, I haven't been able to test it. The only things I've been able to test has to do with, or the only things I've been able to test are the reflex G series lenses. So, you know, that's why I'll stick with that. Also, here's the thing. I'm finding that for the most part, the lenses that all these companies release are pretty much in the same league. There's a 2x telephoto. There is an 18 millimeter equivalent ultra wide. There's a fisheye. There's a macro. There's an anamorphic. So part of that, I think, has to do with good old physics. There's only so much that you can get away with in terms of the glass that you put in front of the iPhone lens and sensor, which is also why these companies had to make new versions of their lenses, is because the sensors and the optics have gotten much larger, and the older lenses couldn't resolve to the older add-on lenses, like Moment's older series lenses. I believe Reflex even had a first series of lenses that you have this huge sensor now. You need the optics that you screw on or you attach on to be able to pull in enough light and resolve that image. Scott's saying a lot of folks are saying they're coming out from the same factory. I don't know. That I don't know. Maybe, but I haven't. I'm not privy to Reflex's or anyone else's manufacturing pipeline aside from where they are in their production cycle. And I know Reflex actually just updated their Kickstarter, I think yesterday or the day before, where they are like just about there in terms of sending out or fulfilling the pledges that people have backed. So I think that's wonderful. I really do. So I don't know. It's a fair question, Scott. I totally get it. So let's go, and I want to show you the last few accessories that I've been using, and then if there are any other questions, I'll take them, and otherwise we will enjoy the rest of our Thursday. But I'm gonna go to the top down, go back to my wireless mic. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You know, drop a comment. Let me know if this is a good time, if you're enjoying the live stream format. Let me know. All right, so I mentioned also though, actually I don't know where's the anamorphic. I had the anamorphic lens somewhere. Oh, here it is. So this is the anamorphic lens. And one thing I want you to know again is that this is mid-stage pre-production. So this is not anywhere close to the production status of these lenses. These are pretty much what you will be getting. An anamorphic lens is what you would use primarily if two things. One, if you are a video or cinematographer and you want to get an ultra wide aspect ratio. That's what this lens does. The other thing that this lens does is it gives you that J.J. Abrams lens streak effect. So that kind of like light flare. So when you point this lens to a specular highlight or a bright light source, you get that kind of streakiness. So that's what this anamorphic lens does. It's fun, but it's one of those things that for a photographer, for a still frame photographer, you can use it. You can use it to get like that ultra wide aspect ratio. I want to say it's like 21:9, whereas normally widescreen is 16. I could be wrong, but it does give you a really kind of pleasing aspect. I'll actually show you some photos I took with that lens. The other thing that I like is this. It's here. Let me clear this out of the way here. It's just a compact tripod by this company called Ulanzi. It's the MT47. The few reasons why I like it, it comes with this really kind of thin Arca Swiss plate. Most Arca Swiss plates are like twice the width, but this is thin, which I like. And what I do is, like I mentioned, is I would mount it to the bottom of the Polar Pro grip, and then this would basically mount to this tripod or my really right stuff tripod. A few things why I like this, a few reasons why I like this tripod though. There's a cold shoe here, so Sometimes if I want to do filming in the field with my Rode wireless mic, which is what I'm using right now, I can attach the receiver here so that it's not dangling. The other cool thing is that it actually extends outward. So you can get a few extra, maybe about a foot of height. You could use it as a selfie stick, but I don't use that. But it comes with this really slick ball head. I mean, it's a really nice ball head. And the reason why I recommend something like this is because if you were to use your smartphone on your regular tripod, I mean, it is especially hard to get lower to the ground. And so this makes it easier to do. Like, you can get much lower to the ground, and it's not very expensive. And the other thing I like about it is that it has these rubber grips. Now, you can't splay the legs out fully because there's the center column here, so it would obviously hit the ground. The other thing is, because there is a center column, you have to make sure that there's clearance. If there's like a rock here, then you couldn't put the tripod down. So it has to be a relatively obstruction-free surface, but I used this a bunch in Utah, and I just had a blast with it because it made things really more creative for me to get low to the ground. So that's the other thing I wanted to show you was this, oh wait, there's no MagSafe on this, but I already showed this to you. This is the Moment MagSafe mount. So all things considered, this is a great mount. I use this mount all the time at home when I want to FaceTime with family. I just snap the, the phone on this and I do my FaceTimes. It's fine in the field, but push comes to shove, if you're doing landscape photography, like if you're just doing in-home portrait or macro, this is fine, totally fine. But if you're out in the field and you're grabbing your tripod, you're moving around a lot, I really do find that using this combination where you have a hard point, it's screwed in, it's not going to go anywhere, and then when you connect it to the tripod, that plate, I mean, you could swing it like a baseball bat. This is not going anywhere. So that's kind of why I prefer this route, using an Arca Swiss plate with something like this or any other case that supports a tripod thread. So, that's basically my what I have to say about that. Alan, videos coming through loud and clear in the UK. Excellent content. I am very grateful for that. I'll tell you what, the reason why I started doing this, I was inspired, speaking of the UK, hopefully you've heard of Glyn Dewis. Glyn is a good friend, UK-based photographer, photo educator, and he does live streams every Sunday. I was actually on his show about a month ago, talking about Lightroom versus Lightroom Classic. We talk all the time, and he inspired me to kind of do this. And I wanted to do this. I've been wanting to do this. And so I'm very grateful that you guys are joining me here. Oh, Ron, another very, very good friend. Ron, I talk to Ron, I would say almost as much as I talk to my wife. Does Reflex have filters? Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, this is a great question. The reason why I didn't show it is because I don't have it. So if you backed the full kit with the Reflex G series lenses, they do have a series of filters that you will get. They're 67 millimeter filters, so you could use if you wanted, you can use the Polar Pro filter mount if you just wanted to use a filter and not use a lens. But I believe there's also a lens adapter so that you can use the filters with the lenses, the reflex lenses. So Ron, thanks for keeping me honest there. Totally spaced out. When you don't have the thing in front of you, it's hard to remember not to talk about it. So I appreciate that. Scott is asking, beside the lack of MagSafe, how are the cases? Let me grab, oh wait, it's right here, right? Yeah, great. I mean, the buttons are really clicky. I'm trying to think of like what a phone case reviewer would say. I will say I love cases that have a little lip so that if you put your phone down, screen side down, it's not actually making contact with the surface. So that's there. Everything has been machined perfectly. The lenses, the holes for the lenses look great. The holes for the speaker and the USB-C port are there. And again, like I said, the buttons are clicky. So you have your action button, your volume button, and the standby button. And there are two. Again, I don't know what the final one will look like, but I mean, you don't have to worry about that. The thing, actually, what I love about this case that I wish the Polar Pro case had, I'm glad you brought this up, Scott, is this. So let's see, can I get it to focus? Okay, you see those two holes? That's a pass-through for you to put a lanyard, which I have. So I have a little lanyard. I don't know where. Oh, there it is. Here. Just a lanyard with this little thing that you would pop through here. When I'm on a tripod, I'm not worried. But the amount of times I hand hold my phone and I'm like leaning over, I'm at, say, like, here, and I'm leaning over one of these banisters, and I'm praying that someone doesn't bump into me or anything like that, and I drop my phone in this basically swamp water. It's amazing. So I really do wish that other cases supported lanyards, but yeah. So that, other than that, Scott, it's totally great. Let's see. What do we got here? Glenn is good people. Ain't that the truth? I highly link to Glenn. Yeah, I should do that. Let me get that really quickly for you guys so I'll link you to his YouTube channel. He has so many fantastic videos for photographers. All right, this is coming to you guys. This is Glenn's website. Oh, weird. Oh, it's going to YouTube and Facebook. Interesting. So yeah, definitely check Glenn out. Let's see what Alan says here. Yes, Fjorden is another company. So let me do a quick search for Fjorden, and I'll share the. All right, so let's go to the screen, and right there. So this is Fjorden. This is another system. As you can see here, it's a case with this, I think it's a snap-on grip, and it's got some functionality here with these buttons. The reason why I didn't go for these guys is because there is no, as far as I can see here, if I go to the Fjorden bundle, there is no filter setup that's native. So yeah, like that's the only reason why or one of the reasons why I am still sticking with Polar Pro is that filter is just too good, and the grip. I think the grip is fantastic. Let's see here. Todd's asking a question about my my Lightroom. Are you open to Lightroom questions? I'm always open to Lightroom questions. Absolutely. If yes, currently I only use Lightroom Mobile. To take your class, do I need to move up to Lightroom? I assume desktop. The course covers everything. So it basically will teach you everything you would need to know about using Lightroom in its entire cloud-based ecosystem. So that's kind of how I built the course. If you're using Lightroom Mobile only, you'll still learn a ton, like how to manage your photos and stuff. But there's also plenty for Lightroom Desktop. So it's for anyone who wants to use Lightroom. Just kind of a shameless plug, which I am grateful for that opportunity. So thank you for that, Todd. All right, so let's see here. What's Scott saying? Scott's saying, my MagSafe mount I only use for inside tripod. Yes, right. Thank you for I'm glad that the review, my impromptu review of the case was good, because there are people who they obsess over cases. Excuse me. And so I just know, like I said, I've used the same case. Anytime a new iPhone comes out, I buy the iPhone and I buy the Apple case. This is the first time, I'm not even joking, not even with the iPhone 14, but the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the first time I've used any other case. It takes some getting used to, but for the most part, what I'm excited for, what I'm waiting for, is for Reflex to send me their filter adapter and their filters, because I want to see whether I can use, like for example, if I want to use the Maven filters, because Maven makes a ton of filters beyond what Reflex is currently making. So if infrared, for example, how cool would it be if I can use the 2-time telephoto on the main sensor with an infrared filter? I mean, that's awesome. So that's what I'm excited for as well. Andy says, regarding Bluetooth remote shutter release groups, find it frustrating that the Reflex Pro camera app has an inconsistent issue with using Bluetooth or use of volume button. Okay, and then Andy's saying that they've acknowledged the issue. Okay, yeah, with Bluetooth, that's a beast in and of itself. But if there's a volume button issue, that's a problem. I have noticed sometimes with my Reflex Pro camera app, partly because I do a lot of panos. So I'm like, I take a photo, I'll be like this, move over, move over, move over. Sometimes I have to wait. I don't know if the app is buffering to save the files, but I'm doing some tests to see if I like saving a RAW file as opposed to a Pro RAW. And for those of you that don't know, there's a significant difference. And maybe we will do a video on that, or a live stream. So, but basically a Pro RAW it's a RAW-ish file. It's a RAW file that goes through Apple's photonic engine. And so it's a RAW file that's processed. And it's the only way you can get a 48 megapixel image. But apps like Reflex, apps like Moment, like Halide, they support shooting in Pro RAW, but they also have their own RAW. The benefit to shooting in RAW on your iPhone, especially if you're a Lightroom user, is if you open a Pro RAW file. Actually, let me see. I can probably show this to you super quickly. And I want to be sensitive of everyone's time, but let's see here. I'll go to info here. Let's see. This might be a Pro RAW file. So watch what happens. Let's say with this photo here, I wanted to apply the AI noise reduction. If I right click and go to enhance in Lightroom, and this is the same with Lightroom or Lightroom Classic, you'll see here, there's a warning, and it says denoise is not currently compatible with this photo format. That's because Pro RAW is not what is considered a Bayer DNG file, like a actual raw sensor data. If I go to a photo that is an actual RAW, let me see if I have one here. Maybe this one? No, that's a 48 megapixel. This was taken also with the circular polarizer, the Maven circular polarizer. Just absolutely fantastic. I just love it. Those filters are fantastic. And then here, really quickly, I didn't show you what a good infrared shot. I did get some good infrared shots, but it's so cool how the way the foliage and the organics turn white. And so this is something I'm very excited to share. Point is, I showed you how the Pro RAW you can't use that denoise. With a RAW file, which is 12 megapixels, you get the actual sensor data, no processing, bypasses the photonic engine. You can use the AI noise reduction in Lightroom. It'll work. It also with a RAW file, you 100,000% have to edit the photo. You will not want to share a RAW file as is. It does not look very good, but it gives you the maximum latitude in terms of working with tone and color, noise reduction, sharpening, all that stuff. Um, ProRAW, you can pretty much take a ProRAW file and share it. It looks pretty good because Apple does a bunch of stuff behind the scenes with noise reduction, with sharpening, tone mapping, all that stuff. Let's see here. Douglas, I haven't followed Peak Design's mobile case and accessories recently. Will any of the gear shown today work with Peak Design? I don't know. I love Peak Design. I use their everyday backpack for just like my urban stuff. And I know that they have their own mounting system, their own accessories. I don't know. I don't see how it could. I think actually, I'd have to look, but I think Peak Design might have their case supporting Moments lenses. So, yeah. What's Ron saying? Maybe RAW and then Photo AI to upsize. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So you could really use a Pro RAW if it's noisy. You can use Photo AI with that, I believe. I never tested it, but with a RAW, like a vanilla RAW iPhone photo, you can 100% send it in, and it I believe will use the RAW noise reduction model, which is really good. So, and then of course you can upsize, as you said, Ron, you can upscale it. So 12 megapixels, I think that's what Ron is saying. I said how it's a 12 megapixel RAW. You can upsize it up to 600% with Photo AI or Gigapixel. So definitely. And then Rad is saying that you always default to Pro RAW. I have as well for the longest time, but I have also been curious to see just how much more benefit I can get with RAW, because what I've noticed is when I edit a Pro RAW file in Lightroom, Lightroom's editing tools are it's very sensitive. So if I were to add contrast to a Pro RAW versus a RAW, the contrast on the RAW file, the slider, would be a lot more forgiving, but with the Pro RAW, it builds contrast really quickly. So yeah. And then Ron saying that Pro RAW, he's confirming that works with Photo AI, so I appreciate that. I know Ron, Ron's used Topaz apps for a while, and Ron is one of the guys who went whole hog iPhone photography, got rid of his Sony gear. He's basically using his iPhone 15 Pro Max, the DJI Pocket 3, and some action cams. And you should actually check out his YouTube channel as well if you're into woodworking, and check out his smart wood shop. I mean, it's just awesome. I love what Ron does. It's just a ton of fun. And he uses his drone. And then Scott saying Peak Design does not have a mobile lens mount or filter mount for, as far as I know. I think you're right. So a lot of these case manufacturers will just I see them adopting Moments lens mount system. So it makes sense. It kind of, rather than them developing their own lens system, they'll become an affiliate or a partner of Moment and become a reseller. Let's see here. Andy, just returned from France. Kind of jealous. Only had my iPhone 15 Pro Max with me. Okay, very cool. Was that, let me know, was that intentional? Did you leave was this a vacation and you meant to just bring your iPhone as your camera? Yeah, Ron, Rad's asking you to drop your channel. Definitely drop it in the comments. So it's frustrating. The access to the 48 megapixels is so locked down. Just use gigapixels, upsize some of them, some of the 12 megapixel wide shots with great results. Yes. This is what I mean. At the very beginning of the broadcast, I said how, when I was starting to show the gear, I said how I hope Apple, with every new version, takes this photography stuff more seriously. It is insane. And maybe there's a technical reason. I won't pretend to understand. But let's say you have you're using the Reflex Pro camera app, and you have it set to ProRAW 48 megapixels. Reflex, like other pro camera apps, allows you to manually set the ISO and the shutter speed as well. You can't set the aperture because there is no variable aperture. It's a fixed aperture. But you can set the ISO, you can set the shutter speed. As soon as you do either of those two things, you are forced into 12 megapixels. You can shoot ProRAW, but it cannot be saved as a 48 megapixel image. I do not understand this at all. Which is why I do like to set the shutter speed and the ISO. That's also why I moved away from ProRAW, because if I have to be in 12 megapixels, I might as well get the raw sensor data and edit it how I want. If Apple opens up control and, I don't know, lets us do what we want to do and save it at the full 48 megapixels, okay, that's a different story. But it is baffling to me. They always do this. They give us some, like, oh, here's a 5x telephoto lens on here, 120 millimeter equivalent. But we're still going to limit how you can use it. Go figure. Ah, look at that. Yes, intentional. Your Lightroom Everywhere course, i.e. you, convinced me to go. That is awesome. Thank you. That is one of the most gratifying things I could have heard, because I do push mobile photography a lot, because I think it's just, there's so many people who just want to lighten their workflow physically and at the computer. And I would be a hypocrite if I said, do this stuff, but I still would travel with now I still have my Sony gear. I haven't gone the Ron route. I am impressed with what Ron did. But when I go traveling, I only go with my iPhone. Like, I want to see what I can do with it. I teach it, the mobile side of things. And so I want to make sure that I can answer these questions on the fly. Mike, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Listen, I'm not trying to puff myself up or anything like that, but I am grateful when people say these things, and I know that the courses are helpful. So thank you for that. And what's Scott saying? It's Apple's 90-10 rule. Yes. Build for 90% of the people, and the other 10 will suffer the quirks. Yes. They'll suffer the quirks, or they will rely on developers to build stuff, assuming that there's an API to kind of fill the gap. You are 100% correct. Oh, wait, Andy. Wait, so Andy, were you were there at my live stream? Okay. The synapses are firing and the dots are being connected. Cool. Yeah. So it is a change of mindset, without a doubt. I think the more you see photographers use mobile and take it seriously, the more the more that stigma, because I still think there's a stigma, will go away. But it requires definitely which is why I brought up my article, the smartphone photography apologetics. A consummate artist or a consummate photographer, you can give them a Kodak disposable camera, one of those little cardboard box cameras that they would put it on the wedding tables, and they would make amazing work. They wouldn't say like, oh man, it's just a disposable 35 millimeter film camera. No, they would understand it and they would use it. A Michelin star chef, you give him or her a knife that you bought from IKEA, which is what we use at here. IKEA makes good knives. They're gonna cook you up a good dish. They're not gonna look at, I can't. They'll work with what they have, which is kind of why I love that show Chopped, where they present chefs with random ingredients and it's on them to come up with something delectable. So Um, Always good to see Tim. Um, and like I see a lot of really positive praise for the course. And I'm hesitant to share it because again, one, this is about mobile, but two, I don't want to, I'm grateful for what you guys are saying, for investing in my course, in my small business. Like I can't, I can't say enough, but I'll say it. I can't say enough, but I'll let Ron say one more thing on that topic. Um, uh, so this is the kind of stuff that I'm always very. This is kind of like what I was saying, what Ron did, where you get rid of your cameras, and you're like, I think that's. Can I be honest with you? I'm not ready for that yet. I'm too well. No, let me rephrase. I should be fair. My Sony cameras, so like I've got, that camera there. That's what I usually do for my YouTube videos. This camera, the top-down camera, those are all Sony cameras. So the reason why I don't get rid of them, I already bought them. Like I already own them, and so I use them for these kinds of videos rather than webcams or stuff like that. And I've got the lenses, but like what you said, when I go, I take my iPhone. Now I have more accessories. I've got the filters, I've got the lenses, so I can be more experimental, more creative. Um, so yeah, this is something though. I mean, this is the other thing that I'm very excited about. What Michael's saying. Thank you for the positive words. But moving from to Lightroom from Classic is something that I obviously push and advocate for, but I want to make sure that people understand why. And before Local Browse came out, it was a harder sell, but now it's becoming more and more. And then I can tell you things are only going to get better with Lightroom. So let's close things off with just some positive words from Ron. After 40 years of shooting, I have no shame in shooting with my iPhone. I think that's as good of a sentiment to wrap up the live stream as any, because there is no reason for shame. Yes, yeah, you got people, like, they're doing their selfies and all that stuff. Like, yes, I get that. Mobile phones, on one hand, are they're a caricature of a photographer, right? But on the other hand, you have to think about it this way. As these things get better, as you are able to, as you can take photos, like, not puffing myself up, but like, man, this is I was really excited when I got this photo. As you are able to get, I would say, like, full frame caliber photos, what will happen is, no one thinks twice about when you take your phone somewhere to take photos, right? You got your big camera with your white giant telephoto lens and your tripod and stuff like that, and people are like, whoa, like, go away. You're prohibited. But with the phone, no one really cares. So if you've got this device now that can really, really take great photos, obviously with the right subject, the right light, the right composition, the right settings, and now with all these different accessories that can further enhance, I find like we're going to get access, and it's just like we're going to go more incognito than ever before. So I'm excited. And sorry, let me get some water. I'm excited about the iPhone 16, what iOS is going to bring, and Android, of course. So with that, I'm so grateful for all of you guys sticking around for an hour and 20. Let me know Leave comments. Let me know if you want to see this on a regular basis, if there are topics you want me to cover. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. I'll see you on the next one. And I hope you enjoy your the rest of your week and your weekend. Bye, everyone.